Good morning.
Good morning. I've been looking for those glasses all morning and now I've seen them here.
You don't look at me until we're on air. Burn,
Baby, burn, disco inferno. Guys, actually on that, you know how much glasses are? Like anyone who wears glasses will be horrified with the price, okay?
Bifocals especially.
So if you buy a frame that is halfway nice, if you need, like I do, varifocals, I'm very short-sighted. If you need this, if you need that, and if you need them to be thin, because if I didn't have them thinned, they'd be this thick. If you need them without reflection, no, it's not, because lots of people wear glasses, and I'm going to tell you an amazing thing that I've discovered for everything to cost less than half. So 500 quid, 400 quid, you know, every pair of glasses that I've bought over the years.
I think it's a con.
And I'm not a great glasses person.
No,
like I do lose them. And
morning, Christopher. Morning, Stuart. Morning, Ellery. Morning, Tori. Don't know where this is going.
And the other day,
just humour.
I was in Westfield, right? And apparently this place has been there for years. I've walked past it every bloody time, never seen it. So I just paused at this place and was having a look at the glasses. And then I saw this sign. I went, 195 frames, lenses, varifocals. Still a lot of money.
Yes, a huge amount of money.
It's a huge amount of money, but it ain't 500 quid.
No, but I think the vast majority of people probably don't pay 500 quid for glasses.
No, but if you do need all those things, like I can't have reflection, I've got to have them thinned, I've got a varifocal, I've got complicated.
And they're an investment for life.
Well, as long as you don't
as long as you don't sit on them, lose them,
find the name
break them, scratch them. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Whilst Nadia's looking for that, why don't we have a moment?
So how they keep their prices down is they've got no, you don't actually have the opticians in there. So you have your sight test done somewhere else. They're opticians, and then they do it, and you get them the next day. But if you're varifocal like I am, it takes a few more days. Now, all my other varifocals have taken 3 weeks.
Wow. But if you haven't got your glasses on to find your glasses, how do you find your glasses? Yeah. Who's done this? Who's spent? You're looking for your reading glasses, Nads. Get off your phone.
I'm looking for the name of it.
And when you're looking,
don't tell me to get off my phone.
And when you're looking for your glasses,
when you do
because
that,
it looks,
I'm always
looks rude.
I've told
it's like being in class.
I've told
at the back of the class, distracted on your phone.
I've told them I'm looking for something.
Okay. But has anyone else done this where you can't find your glasses to read, and then you're picking up glasses, and then you haven't got your glasses to read the size of the prescription? So then you put on another pair of glasses to read it. Oh, it's a whole world.
Anyway, they're called pop specs. Don't know if anyone else has. And apparently there's 30 of these, all in shopping centres. So don't walk past.
Not hashtag gifted.
No.
Just real life experience.
Real life experience shared with
Lee Darren, that's very kind of you. 5 gifted memberships. So sweet, so kind.
Lee,
thank you
that's so
much.
kind.
Really
Don't, you naughty.
Don't do it. Look after that ticker. I mean,
old tricky woo knew them. Pop specs.
Pop specs.
Not pop specs.
I use my camera phone to read labels, says Michu.
Yeah, that's a good little tip.
Yeah, there's that magnifier. Do you remember you and Kay found that once? And it was like 2 women of a certain age going mad in a I don't know, ice cream shop. Let's look at this. This is really nice.
Oh, so beautiful. Listening to the podcast. These tiny birds sheltering in, is it a rose? It is a rose.
2 hummingbirds sheltering in a flower.
I think it's a rose. Well, it's foreign patches. So exquisite. Oh my God, that's a beautiful video.
Yeah, I've been drawn down these wormholes of calm.
Really love that.
Yeah, so there you go.
And these glasses are from Poundland for £1.
Oh right.
But these are just reading glasses on top of my contact
And these
lenses.
are from Good Lookers for about 8 quid. Really nice.
But these are just scratched. But these are just, you know.
Now,
reading.
Obviously, what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about Trump has stopped military aid to Ukraine. It's a big deal. This is a big deal.
Big deal. Just 1 second. Shazia. It's called Children Not Numbers. Thank you for asking. Go on.
So Trump has stopped Ukraine military aid to Ukraine. This is massive news. It kind of undercuts lots of efforts being made in Europe to kind of resolve this strange, curiously developing situation with Ukraine and Russia and who should step forward for the ceasefire. I want to get your thoughts on this. Was he right to do that? Is he right to stop military aid? We're going to talk about the possibility or the suggestion by someone that Nadia found yesterday online of boycotting America, whether in fact you know, there's a strong, compelling argument that whilst Trump is a rogue nut job in charge, whether in fact the best way to punish him is in the wallet by boycotting American goods. I can certainly tell you there are certain areas in which I could not get on board with that, because we are a huge American fans. So, and also we really want to talk about Millie Bobby Brown, star of Stranger Things, amongst other things. She's got a new movie out called Electric State on Netflix, Enola Holmes, all that sort of, you know, brilliant Netflix shows.
She was produced that as well.
Yeah, she's targeted, not really trolls. She's targeted journalists.
Well, they are trolls.
Yeah, well, that's exactly where I was going to.
Oh, sorry.
Who are purporting to be, there's journalists purporting to be journalists who are in fact actually trolls. But she goes the extra yard and names and shames them due to the kickback, criticism, trolling she's received over, I just can't believe this, over how she looks, her appearance, and all this kind of stuff.
Very powerful video.
Very
As
powerful.
Zoe says, it is a very powerful video.
Yeah.
Very articulate. Actually, we both felt really sad, didn't we, after we watched it?
So
we're going to
play you that in full. I do want to, just as we get going on, we're going to start with, I think we should start with Trump and America and Ukraine and all that stuff.
Zoe is begging for a little few words about MAFS.
Oh, yes.
Which we'll try and squeeze in a little bit of
that.
Maybe
shall we do that now?
Well, we'll do it towards the end. Married at
First Sight.
Because if people didn't
Australia.
watch it, they can check out.
Can I just ask, is Married at First Sight Australia, as we get it, is it going out in Australia at the same time, or is it so historic
I don't think
know what's happened?
No, I don't think it does go out at the same
Christopher,
time.
do you know if it's? Do you know what's happened already? I just want to play this meme because it speaks to what it's like watching and listening to American news.
What the fuck is going on out here? The jet skis just went overboard.
This is a meme that says how it feels like getting news updates in the USA.
What the fuck is going on out here? The jet skis just went overboard.
It really does feel like that.
I have to say, I'm plugged into my phone almost 24/7 when I'm not doing anything else. I'm listening to updates from America because I can't believe it.
It's quite something, isn't it? It's quite something. So how are you feeling about Trump's decision last night to put a pause? It's not a stop, but it's a pause on military aid and aid to Ukraine.
Well, how do I feel? The whole debacle is shameful.
Right.
I think that he has put the whole world in danger by laying out exactly how weakened everyone will be when they do this to Trump.
Yes.
I think he's deluded because he thinks Putin is his friend. He thinks they're guys together. They've both been terribly picked on by Biden. I mean, that particular part of his performance the other day when he was saying, you know, when he was broing about Putin and him pulling together because they both had a really shit time with Biden was extraordinary. I think he's very deluded. I think he's scarily crazy. I think Vance is even more scary. God help us if anything happens to Trump and Vance takes over.
Yeah.
Whatever I think of Zelensky, lots of people say, oh, but Zelensky's this, Zelensky's that. So whatever, we can have two thoughts at the same time.
Yes.
Whatever Zelensky is, the behavior of the president is shocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking. And we are all, this is what I feel. I don't know if it's true. I feel like we are all in real peril now because the world is literally
Well, I think
shaking.
there's a couple of things that have emerged out of this. I think one of the things I noticed, one of the government ministers today was saying, we need to somehow strive to get diplomacy happening, not on the front pages of newspapers, not on social media. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't know how I feel about that, because one of the things I think Trump appeals to, and I'm not here apologizing for it necessarily, but I think one has to be balanced. I think one of the things that Trump does appeal to, regardless of what your political hue is, and just parking to the side the decision here on Ukraine, is an idea of so-called transparency. Okay, that in and of itself,
as long as it's not Israel,
exactly, that in and of itself is a totally elective and selective transparency.
And Netanyahu came and berated the American people for not being enough and being stupid and where he can make money, he'll make money, and he's going to make
But what
money.
I find intolerable, and the reason when lots of people comment on a lot of our sort of Trump stuff, and they say, oh, well, you criticize Trump, Biden would have been no better. I couldn't stand the fact that Biden, Kamala pretended to be something, and behind the scenes, it was the same American imperialism. But concealed somewhat with a more sort of agreeable diplomatic PR team. What you get with Trump is an unvarnished reality of American aspiration and American imperialism. That doesn't mean every American believes that, and that doesn't mean every American signs up to it. But what you get with Trump, it's utterly and totally unvarnished. You see it. He signaled this was how he was going to be. He signposted it. There were no surprises.
Why are people surprised?
Yeah, we are going through what he promised, and this is what he promised. Now, when it comes to, I disagree with you. I don't think I think him and Putin know exactly what they're doing. They're just trying to carve up the world, shift and shake.
Putin can turn on him at any point.
Yeah, but they can also shift and shake the world order massively. And I think what's interesting is Donald Trump went on the offensive yesterday saying, Europe, Zelensky, it was a bad thing. It's a really bad thing to say that without US support, you can't fight Russia. Because he then raised Trump, not Zelensky. Trump raised the specter of World War III again by saying you've shown how vulnerable you are to Russia. Well, it doesn't need underlining. It doesn't need being put in capital letters, nor then put in bold. And I do think that we as a country find ourselves in a really odd position, because I think Starmer, we've all said it, has played a blinder in the last week. But I do begin to worry that he might have played a blinder based upon a fraudulent sense of his achievements. I think Trump has kind of humored him. Yeah. I think Trump has led him into a trap.
It's like a cat that just plays, isn't it?
And I think what we're going to get now is the reality, because the more that Trump aligns Starmer to the European mission, the more that we're going to fall into that basket case of the opposition, if you like. So, but interestingly, Vance said yesterday, sending 20,000 troops to Ukraine, say in the form of any kind of military aid, isn't going to stop the aggression or stop the war. There is a problem. There is a problem. And I think this is what Trump and MAGA and everyone is appealing to. Do we just keep tipping money into a never-ending war?
Right. The problem is we all want a peace deal, right? And Zelensky is going to have to acquiesce in some points.
Yes.
But what he is saying to him is, we want your minerals for our baby Musk. He needs them, and we do whatever Musk wants because he's our massive donor, our major donor. We are not going to offer you any security.
Yeah.
So we want to take all your assets.
No, they haven't said that.
And we don't.
What he said is, if we've got American people on the ground, essentially pillaging your country's economic wealth and mineral wealth, that will put Putin off attacking. What he's saying is, we don't have to put military people there. We just need to put capitalists there making money off your back.
But like, who's gonna? That's not true, is it? That's not gonna protect.
That's what Vance has said.
But that's not going to protect Ukrainians.
No.
So the deal is the shittest deal you could imagine. No sane person could accept what they're asking Zelensky
This is the point. There is no deal on the table for Ukraine. There's either
There's no deal.
Russian control by Russia, an invasion by Russia, and a complete capitulation of the entire country.
As MeTube says, miners aren't going to fight the war.
Or you say, America have all our wealth. I mean, it's kind of an invidious choice, isn't it? It's a Faustian pact.
So the problem is, yes, everybody wants this to be tied up. It's costing a lot of money. It's but you can't just tie it up by giving the actual dictator everything he wants. I mean, they are talking in Russia now about how fabulous it is that now America is on their side.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel that we are in a really dangerous moment.
I mean,
I think it's scary. If I think about it too long, I get too scared.
But what is the answer? I mean, someone just asked there, so should we be with America or should we not be with America?
I have no idea, because I don't understand the geopolitics enough. I have no idea.
I've got a horrible feeling that, so the pressure on Starmer at the moment is, don't trust the mood music that you've been offered by Trump. This is what the head of the SNP said yesterday. This is what the Ed Davey, head of the Liberal Democrats, said. There's a lot of people in government here saying he needs to be in a critical position. He needs to be positioned in a more critical perspective towards Trump now, because everyone is feeling that he has been wooed into this gaslit, essentially.
But we've seen how angry Trump gets it's an almost impossible situation.
Yeah, but I'm telling you now, Starmer's going to be torn in a million different directions. He's literally about to be
He's got the worst
split into 6 million different directions by Europe, by America, by Ukraine. His commitment, and I feel sorry for him. I can't believe I'm saying that. I do feel sorry for him because I think his intentions are wholesome. I think he's trying to find and navigate an incredibly fractured. Even the Tory party were complimenting him yesterday in the House of Parliament. I mean, he has tiptoed, but all the complimenting in the world, I think, only speaks to the fact that he was let off the hook by Trump. Trump was just grooming him and getting him to a place where I think the trapdoor is going to come flying shut any minute now. I think personally, my idea is I genuinely think Starmer needs to put a marker in the sand and turn to Europe. I think it's a moment for Europe. I think the only thing we can do is stand with Europe. There's that wonderful quote. What was the quote? You don't want to be an enemy of America, but God forbid if you're their friend.
Yeah.
Because it leads you into a much more sort of tricky and troublesome place.
I mean, obviously, it's just incredibly complicated. But if there was any way that Europe could pull together, but everyone says they can't fight Russia without America. And you know what about all this? Like, Ukraine is fighting the war for all of us, because if Putin gets his way, then his eyes will turn to other parts of Europe. So when people say, do we want to, this is what I, don't know enough about it, but when people say, should we really be sending any money? Is the answer yes, because otherwise we could be fighting the war ourselves? Yes.
I think the way I see it all unfolding is that eventually at some point there will be, I don't know the exact nature of it. Nadia sent me a wonderful kind of animation meme that kind of talked about how World War III could happen. There were a lot of junctures in that were kind of dubious, but I definitely see some kind of encroachment on Poland, and Putin's aspirations are the former Soviet Union. He doesn't have aspirations to own London, for example, or France, but he does have an interest in compromising Europe so that he can take the Baltic countries. Now, where we become vulnerable is where we then come in to defend those countries. That's where our vulnerability lies, and I do think that is possible. I mean, there is no way out of this war. I can't see any way out of this current pincer movement by Trump and Putin. The only route out for Zelensky is if Europe says it's going to keep footing the bill continuously in a conflict with Russia, what does that do? That kind of positions Russia in a more aggressive stance towards Europe. So we immediately go ratchet up a notch or two, rather than it being us and America. America distances itself from it somewhat. So I don't see, or Zelensky takes the deal.
And why isn't America worried about World War III? Why isn't Trump worried about World War III?
Because he's got Russia on side. I genuinely think
he's a fool if he thinks he's got Russia on his side.
No, I genuinely think Trump's bigger worry is China. I think we don't understand the extent to which the existential threat to America from the Pacific side of the planet, because I'm telling you it now, it's simply because we look at maps in a different way. We don't look at maps that way. We look at Europe. We go, oh, fuck, they're that close to China. They're really close to China. When you turn the globe round or turn the map over, you go, squeaky bum time. So you can sort of see that. I do think that there's some truth in that.
European nuclear disarmament has turned out to be a mistake.
France are saying that they will be the guarantors of nuclear attack. Basically, France will fire nuclear missiles at Russia, and we've got a few. But as we've discovered with our submarines, they don't really fire them in the right direction. We might end up hitting Greenland. Anyway, new footage has emerged from the Oval Office, which we need to see. It's not been seen anywhere before. This is a first.
You don't have the cards right now.
If only it had gone that way.
What are you doing here?
If only it had gone that way.
Did you send that to Betty? Betty, I love that.
Oh, well, if only it had gone that way. Okay, let's talk about boycotting the USA, shall we?
And then we'll talk about Millie.
Millie Bobby Brown. Should we just lead with this quote? Do you want to stand it up or not? No.
No, this is just something popped up.
Yeah, so this
on
is something that
Instagram
popped up.
yesterday.
This is the concept or the idea that perhaps we need
Well, he's
to
going to say it.
boycott America.
So for anyone living outside of the United States, here's how you can save us and stop us at the same time. Immediately stop buying anything from the USA. Anything. That includes music, movies, products. Just boycott it all. Also, get your government to prevent American USA citizens from traveling to your country, from being allowed in your country. Keep us out. Keep us 100% out. All right? That will be a wake-up call to the American people who can't stand not being loved and adored by the rest of the world. We can't stand it. We will recognize the tyranny at the top of our nation, and we will evict the tyrants. All you have to do is reject us thoroughly. Spread the word to boycott the USA. I don't love it. I live here. I don't want to be not liked by the rest of the world, but we are absolutely unlikable right now. We have made terrible decisions, and enough is enough. So boycott the USA if you want to stop us, and gratitude for saving us. Spread the word.
He's fantastic the way he delivers that, isn't he? You know, I was thinking back just then when Trump was in last time, and whenever we had any American guests on Loose Women, every single one would, before they sat down, they'd be going, "We're so sorry." It's so weird. So it just made me think of that now, because there's a lot in that, what he says. But first, they will never stop Americans coming in.
No, that won't happen. But also, if we
but
were to,
it would be very powerful. But
if we were to also boycott, there would be nothing to watch, nothing to listen to, because let's face it, BBC drama is shit at the moment. There would be no YouTube. We wouldn't have a business. It would be terrible. It would be a disaster.
Look at how America really does rule the whole world.
So you can see how that imperialism
in so many different ways it rules us.
Spreaded through to who here could do that? I mean, I think you can make small decisions. So, for example, I feel zero inclination towards traveling to America.
And we love going to America, and we can't.
I can't even think about it.
We just feel sick to our stomach at the thought of it, don't we? Yeah. I mean, we did before that, just with Biden and his
even when I was in New York earlier last year, the sensibility and the feeling. Obviously, not you don't meet everyone, and you just get a feeling. But
we love America,
and
we love America, but it's their people in power just have made us sick to our
You
stomach.
really won't like the other stuff, said Edward Bevington. Oh, you mean the stuff that we don't get? I mean, it's Diet Coke, and it's hard. I mean, we're like junkies. We are addicted to.
Yeah, look
American.
at Sherry says, it doesn't have to be perfection.
No.
You can try your best. So what could you not bear to give up? One thing, and what could you? Yeah,
what could you give up?
It would be a bit painful, but you could give it up.
Yeah. Matt Roth, I agree. I love America, but I wouldn't visit. Not right now. Exactly. It's not a permanent thing, but at the moment, no.
And I feel it's dangerous. I'm not exaggerating.
Off the beaten life, not boycotting products, but reconsidering travel to the USA. I think the travel industry could change.
I think that's where you can hit right across, where people just don't go to America.
Could not do without YouTube. Reese's, I'd be okay to abstain. I get you.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, obviously, apart from all the entertainment, I'm just trying to think.
I couldn't, because everything I watch is American made, I think, and UK TV is great. For me, it's the movie. I couldn't. I mean,
I think it's the holidaying is powerful.
Yeah, holidaying is powerful.
I wonder how much they make from
Christopher Cundall. Sadly, got a trip at the end of May, but I'm nervous about it, to be honest. I've got close Canadian friends who went down to Florida for a holiday and got heckled non-stop.
See, that's what I mean, Christopher. I genuinely am scared of civil war in America. I was listening to a chat the other day. He wasn't a crazy person. He was very considered. And he was saying, this is the plan next. Vance and Trump want people out in the street protesting, and then they've got MAGA ready, and MAGA is armed, and MAGA is going to fight. And then Trump wants to use the military, because as soon as he uses the military, you're up to a whole nother scale of what he can freely do without going back to Congress and asking for permissions. So it's very real threat, I feel.
Ellen, don't be sorry. We'd love different opinions. Sorry, but I really agree with Trump on this. Zelensky has wanted to continue this war. He's getting billions and expecting more and more. It has to stop.
Yes, Ellen, but You've got to offer a man a deal he can work with.
Yeah.
The deal is you get absolutely nothing, but we'll take all your mineral wealth and that's the problem with it. We all agree that we want this to come to an end, and they've got to somehow come to some sort of agreement. Maybe he's got to give a bit over to Trump, a bit of the land, something, but you can't offer a man nothing back.
I mean, there is literally nothing attractive in anything that's been put on the table to Zelensky.
Unless there's something else that Trump's offering that we don't know about.
Well, no, there's nothing on the table that's attractive other than, I mean, and I think this is what Trump is pushing for. He's trying to hobble him to the point that the only choice to prevent further loss of life is to sacrifice essentially the untapped wealth of his his country's minerals. And
what's, just remind me, I don't know if you know actually, what's Putin going to get?
Putin will be able to keep the land that he's got.
That he's won?
That he's won, yeah. And
what about all the people? What about all the people that have been kidnapped?
God only knows. God only knows. And I mean,
because didn't they take thousands of children? They did.
I don't think the finer details of that have been hammered out. But essentially, Russia can, solidify its gains. Ukraine has to agree
and has to give
NATO.
Back all the money.
You see, there are certain
they give back the money via the minerals. Is that the thing?
That's the idea. Yeah. That's the repayment. I think something that we are doing, I think what Rachel Reeves, we pay much of our aid to Ukraine is the interest on seized assets from Russia. Which I think which is kind of clever because you're also there's a nervousness about actually using the assets. So when you hear people say just use the assets, that could generate a fucking nuke coming our way because they're like, don't take all our money. But yeah, I mean, so for example, I genuinely think that in any deal, I understand and I agree with, and I think it was totally stupid and saber rattling to suggest that Ukraine should be a member of NATO. Sorry, if that doesn't float, I genuinely think that has to be part of the deal. And I'll tell you why. Because America wouldn't tolerate anything similar in Canada or Mexico. I think that is okay. But off the back of not being a member of NATO, you can understand Ukraine seeking further reassurances and a backstop to security.
But Ukraine handed back all their nuclear weapons with the understanding that NATO might accept them, so they left themselves vulnerable.
And we have two nukes, by all accounts, two warheads that have gone missing.
Oh yeah,
there are two rogue warheads somewhere on the planet, which is food for thought, isn't it? Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
Just before we go to Millie, here's another very candid moment caught in the White House.
Oh, he won't be reposting that one, will he?
Okay, so Millie Bobby Brown has been promoting her latest film, Electric State, starring her and Chris Pratt. She's been on the red carpet, she's been at premieres, etc., and she's received a lot of nasty coverage, basically, from the press. And she posted this, I think, last night or 6 or 7 hours ago, and it really struck us as it's very moving. So have a listen.
It's Millie. I want to take a moment to address something that I think is bigger than just me, something that affects every young woman who grows up under public scrutiny. I think this is very necessary to talk about. I started in the industry when I was 10 years old. I grew up in front of the world, and for some reason, people can't seem to grow up with me. Instead, they act like I'm supposed to stay frozen in time, like I should still look the way I did on Stranger Things Season 1. And because I don't, I'm now a target. I want to talk about some of the articles that have recently released while I'm on my press tour, and some of the writers who are so desperate to tear young women down. One article reads, "Why are Gen Zers like Millie Bobby Brown aging so badly?" Written by Lydia Hawken. "What has Millie Bobby Brown done to her face?" Written by John Eli. Millie Bobby Brown mistaken for someone's mum as she guides younger sister Ava through LA. Written by Cassie Carpenter. Another article reads, "Little Britain's Matt Lucas takes savage swipe at Millie Bobby Brown's new mummy makeover look." Written by Bethann Edwards. Amplifying an insult rather than questioning why a grown man is mocking a young woman's appearance. This isn't journalism. This is bullying. The fact that adult writers are spending their time dissecting my face, my body, my choices is disturbing, And the fact that some of these articles are written by women makes it even worse. We always talk about supporting and uplifting young women, but when it comes down to it, it seems a lot easier to just tear them down for clicks. Disillusioned people can't handle seeing a girl become a woman on her terms, not their own. I refuse to apologize for growing up. I refuse to make myself smaller to fit the unrealistic expectations of people who can't handle seeing a girl become a woman. I will not be shamed for how I look, how I dress, or how I present myself. We have become a society where it's so much easier to criticize than it is to pay a compliment. Why is it the knee-jerk reaction to say something horrible rather than just say something nice? If you have a problem with that, I have to wonder, what is it that actually makes you so uncomfortable? Let's do better, not just for me, but for every young girl who deserves to grow up without the fear of being torn apart for simply existing. Thank you.
See that line, torn apart for simply existing. And that line, when you think about the rife, raging misogyny that is all about us at the moment, and then to think that women are fueling that fire, it's totally devastating. And you know, just because she's a movie star, just because she's wealthy, just because she's extremely bright, just because it looks like the world is her oyster, doesn't mean that she's not a woman, a young woman that is being torn apart for what she, and it really is aging. Why are young people? I mean, some of the stuff that has been written is just, as they put pen to paper, what are they feeling? And I love the way she says, what's wrong with you? You know, what's wrong with you that you'd want to hurt a young woman like that? Yesterday we were raging, weren't we, about Demi Moore, because apparently Demi Moore was furious when all she'd done was turn to the right and maybe clenched her jaw. That could have happened at any point in the evening. Why do you feel you need to do this, troll journalists? I don't get it.
I mean, the Daily Mail is particularly bad at it, but they're all bad at it. I think I noticed a lot of you your comments where, yes, she's naming them. And I think it's really important, actually. I think too many so-called, and I do think the definition of what journalism is has been stretched and diminished into something which is go online, look at comments, repeat them, turn it into a story, plot the headline in quotes as if someone said something. And I think, you know, why? What a disappointment that so many women are responsible for many of these misogynistic, trolling. It's all trolling. And it's and what it does is it generates an atmosphere that justifies more trolling. So it might not even be the one, you know, the person who writes a piece, but it might be like, well, I'm just reporting what's going on. But it then generates, it gives permission and it gives a green light to others and other people everywhere to kind of double down on it and go mad for it. So, you know,
exactly, Creator. Look, the troll journalists get paid as consumers. We have to stop consuming. This is the thing. Don't click on it. Just don't click on that link where you know very well it's just going to be something really horrible.
And I hate to say it, I think one of the more unfortunate things, and Millie kind of asks the question rhetorically, but I feel she's kind of, you know, the answer is kind of baked in there. People just don't like people to be successful. It's really weird. I don't understand this wanting to pull people down or you know, kind of throw shit at them when they've had something, especially around child stars or people who've succeeded when they were young. There's a real resentment. And I just think people need to sort their own kind of aspirations out, their own prejudices out, their own jealousies out. It's not the person's fault. We've seen enough people in the public eye, in boy bands, etc. You know, all the trappings and trimmings of fame don't solve what it means, the troubles of being a human being. So just sitting there kind of feeding off this and kind of getting some kind of satisfaction out of saying this about someone, it's basic, simple jealousy and resentment. And people can't stand it that a young woman has been successful, will continue to be successful. It's so small-minded.
But also, it's this obsession with bringing down that generation.
Yeah.
Why is there so much hate towards this generation that actually we've left them an almighty mess to deal with?
They've got zero prospects, and then we're asking them to cheer up.
we fucked it all up. You know, taking it away from Millie's situation. You know, when you look at actually the mess of economies around the world, the environment, what we've done to the planet, you know, and the, you know, the kickback, you know, it's like every time I see a story about this generation wanting better work-life balance and how everyone piles in lazy, No, they have seen through the mad world we bloody live in.
Absolutely.
The consumer obsessed world we live in.
Yeah.
So I feel like Potato, you know, we never mentioned his name, but you now know who we're talking about, and his brother, that fuel this hatred of women online, that these very journalists probably have written column inches about how dreadful it is. You're a part of that. You're a part of the bloody problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So full strength and huge love, I think, to Millie. She's well done, brave, and I'm sure her family and
I love the
team
way
are looking after her.
She's unapologetically herself, sat there with a curtain behind her, with no, you know, with no trappings of fame, just gone, fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it all. Yeah. You know, and if she wants to change her look 1,000 times a day, so what? Yeah,
absolutely agree. I just wanted to play one. I've got time for one last clip. I just want to not ignore the fact that the ongoing crisis forever in Gaza. I just want to play this clip. It's just a really interesting comparison. The guy speaking, I was just trying to find his name. I've just lost it. He's a historian and a Middle Eastern expert, journalist, American.
Western discourse is one about what Palestinians are permitted to do. So if Palestinians kill troops, Israeli troops occupying their land, which every country in the world would claim the right to do. If there were Russian troops occupying the U.S., it would be cheered if people killed them. But when Palestinians kill military soldiers occupying their land, they're called terrorists. When Palestinians advocate a nonviolent boycott of Israel in order to pressure them to end the occupation the way people did in the 80s successfully against the South African apartheid regime, that's called anti-Semitism. When Palestinians nonviolently protest at the border, they're accused of being agents of Hamas who deserve to be slaughtered. The discourse of the West is that Palestinians have no right to resist or protest this decades-long occupation. They don't have a right to do so violently, and they have no right to do so non-violently. The only thing Western discourse tells Palestinians they're permitted to do is to meekly acquiesce and submit to and obey the dictates of the Israeli government. And I think the world is finally starting to wake up to the fact that this discourse is incredibly immoral, and that Palestinians have just the same rights as everybody else to protest and resist.
Wow.
Who is he?
Wow. And, you know, the reason I always find it really refreshing, I'm just going to pop it up and then pull Glenn Greenwald, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, because
Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. It's a journalist truly speaking out clearly.
And also, it's a terrible thing to say, but sometimes the reason I want more men who look like they could be, because when I saw the clip just as a thumbnail, I thought, oh, it's another general or someone who's going to be bemoaning the fact that, you know, Palestine. The more you see, these are the people that I think are more difficult for people like Trump and that lot to dismiss or ignore, because it's like, oh God, it's a white man. It sounds awful, but it's so refreshing to hear it. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, sometimes I feel as a white man, we are the cause of all the fucking world's problems. And just every now and then, anyway, everything he says there is so on point, so on point. We have removed any ability to push back on anything for the Palestinians. Everything's weaponized. Every form of resistance is weaponized.
And as Jewish Voice for Peace and so many other amazing groups will tell you over and over again, asking for a ceasefire, asking for this madness to stop, does not make you anti-Semitic. It makes you pro-human.
Exactly. All right, guys. Have a good day, and something will be landing later. Bye.
Bye.